Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rising Sign Astrology. I'm so glad you're here today. We're going to be diving into the astrology of June 2025 and getting right into how this is going to affect you by rising sign. I can't wait to dive in and explore how the transits are influencing you for the month of June. Remember, I leverage Western whole sign house astrology, but I'm also fascinated by fixed stars as well as Vedic interpretations, so you might notice elements of those sprinkled in when they're relevant to the discussion. In today's video, you can listen for your rising sun and moon signs, but I always suggest listening based on your rising sign first, as it shows how these transits are going to impact you on the physical level within the world. Then consider your sun sign for career or purpose within the world, and lastly, your moon sign for how these shifts might affect you emotionally as well as on the home front. If you enjoy the content and want to hear more, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button so you're always alerted whenever I post new videos. And if you like what you hear, please drop a comment, give a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm. All right, let's jump in and get started for June. Okay, June 2025 for Taurus rising. So June is a major turning point for all Taurus risings, with Venus, your chart ruler, taking a very central role. Venus spends the first days of the month finishing up in Aries and then moves into Taurus on June 5th, where it's strong, dignified, and very influential. So this places an emphasis on self-worth, personal priorities, and taking tangible steps to secure both emotional and material stability. Throughout the month, there's a powerful focus on your third house of communication, local environment, learning, and day-to-day logistics. And as Cancer season begins, Jupiter is also moving into Cancer. So there's a lot happening. Saturn and Neptune are still pressuring your 12th house. So inner fears, hidden habits, subconscious patterns are going to continue to be a long-term area of work for you. And you're going to need to balance practicality with intuition, especially when communication and decisions seem unclear. Steady, thoughtful adjustments in how you manage your time, your environment, and your mindset are going to serve you well this month. So starting on June 4th, Venus in Aries sextiles Jupiter in Gemini. So Venus is in your 12th house, and it forms a positive connection with Jupiter in your second. This is a supportive day for private financial gains or for quietly building confidence in your talents. You might receive unexpected good news about money, such as a raise, settlement, or sale that comes from behind the scenes work or something that you've already completed. Another real world manifestation or possibility is having a breakthrough as it relates to your self-esteem or financial strategy through means of journaling or private conversations that help you see your true worth more clearly. So this isn't about flashy success, but more steady and quietly, momentum taking place, or steady, quiet momentum taking place. The next day, on June 5th, Venus enters Taurus. So this is great. Venus moves into your first house. It's returning home, and it's going to strengthen your natural charm, magnetism, and personal influence. Over the next few weeks, you're going to feel more at ease expressing yourself, updating your appearance, or reconnecting with activities that reinforce your confidence. In real life, this could look like investing in your physical appearance, so new clothes, a haircut, new skincare routine, or attracting more attention naturally in personal and professional settings without having to force anything. It's just going to happen. Another manifestation is feeling a stronger urge to prioritize your own comfort and well-being and setting healthier boundaries around your time and energy. 3 days later, on June 8th, Mercury enters Cancer. So Mercury moves into your third house of communication, short trips, siblings, and learning. Your daily conversations may take on a more emotional tone at this time, and you might find yourself more sensitive to how others express themselves. Real-world examples include engaging in deeper talks with neighbors or siblings, or beginning to write or speak or study in a way that pulls from your personal emotional experiences. It could also manifest as needing to rethink how you manage your daily schedule to account for your mental and emotional well-being. The next day, June 9th, Venus in Taurus is going to square Pluto in Aquarius. So Venus is now in your first house, and it's going to clash with Pluto in your 10th house of career and public image. This is setting up a tension between your personal desires and your professional expectations. So you may feel pressure to present yourself in a certain way to please bosses or please clients or, just have a broader and more powerful sense of public perception of you. But underneath, there's a question about whether that image actually feels authentic to you. One way that this could play out is encountering some form of manipulation or control dynamics at work that really make you rethink your role. Another manifestation is realizing that your career goals are starting to shift, and you may need to adjust your personal branding, right? Like your LinkedIn or something, and the way that you present yourself to align with, these new goals that you're developing. Now, on the same day, June 9th, Jupiter enters Cancer. So this is one of the biggest transits of the year. Jupiter's shift into Cancer is going to mark the beginning of a very significant 12-month cycle of growth for all Taurus risings. And it's going to be focusing on your third house of communication, learning, siblings, local environment and community, and day-to-day routines / mobility. While Jupiter is often associated with big leaps and grand adventures and opening doors for you, in the third house, the expansion comes through more immediate, close-to-home efforts. Through the words you speak, the skills you sharpen, the relationships you nurture, and the way you move through your everyday environment. This is going to be a year where small, consistent investments in connection and learning can create surprisingly large returns over time. On a practical level, many Taurus risings will feel a pull to expand their communication skills. You might take up writing or speaking or podcasting, teaching, or consulting in some form or fashion. If you've been considering sharing your voice more publicly through social media or blogging or like podcasting, like I mentioned, this transit really does offer major support for getting your message out there. There's real potential this year to be seen as a trusted communicator, Jupiter, someone who has something meaningful and emotionally resonant to share with the world. With Cancer influencing this transit, your most powerful communications will be those that come from a place of authenticity, care, and emotional intelligence. It's also a time where education is going to become a key theme. Whether it's formal study like signing up for a certification course or returning to school, or more informal such as diving into and learning a new language or a new hobby, it's going to be about sharpening your mind and expanding your knowledge base. And those things are going to open doors for you. Remember, Jupiter rewards curiosity at this time, especially when you're leaning into things that help you connect with others more effectively or enhance your practical skills. You could find that the skills you develop during this year-long period are going to lay the groundwork for bigger professional or personal opportunities down the line. Now, relationships with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, anyone you consider part of your immediate circle, may also come into sharper focus. If there have been misunderstandings or distance, this transit can offer opportunities for healing or strengthening those bonds, or even collaborating on meaningful projects together. It's a powerful time for mending any fractured ties in those areas if you have them, or just deepening important relationships and building a stronger support network that's close to home, right? Third house. On a more subtle level, Jupiter in the third house can transform the way you perceive and process information in general. So it's a time when your mindset is going to be ripe for expansion, and you may notice a shift in how you think and your mental patterns. You could go from a very rigid thinker to someone that has greater openness or optimism or even emotional sensitivity around how they think and process information. Now, this doesn't mean becoming naive. It's more about developing more emotional intelligence in these areas. And your curiosity at this time can naturally lean towards subjects that integrate the emotional with the intellectual, such as psychology or marketing or storytelling, even spiritual communication techniques, because Jupiter is guru. Now, this is also a time where travel can be impacted. So this is not like the ninth house with like grand overseas adventures and long distance travel. This is more finding yourself taking more frequent local trips, right? Like you're always buzzing around the town with chores or obligations or constant weekend getaways or a lot of commuting or a time where you're taking more business trips than usual or attending more conferences than usual. Anything that's keeping you very busy and active in your local environment. But all that's happening in order to expose you to new ideas and help you build useful local connections for the future. Even your daily commute or regular routines could become more stimulating at this time, offering new opportunities simply because you're more open to engaging with the environment around you at this time. So a shift in your day-to-day world, like moving to a different neighborhood, changing your commuting routine, or getting more involved in your local community in some way, could spark some form of unexpected growth from Jupiter. One important caution is that the third house also rules over information overload. So with Jupiter expanding whatever it touches, there's a risk of scattering your energy across too many topics, too many conversations, too many commitments. So being curious is great, but without focus, you could end up with a lot of half-finished projects, overstimulation, or just spreading yourself too thin and not doing anything in a really great way because you've taken on too much. So I would say prioritizing depth over breadth is necessary at this time. And be confident and feel comfortable being selective about where you invest your attention. And it's really going to help make the most of this transit. Think of it like, it might be better to be an inch wide and a mile deep in 3 areas than a mile wide with varying degrees of depth across 30 areas, if that makes sense. Ultimately, Jupiter in your third house is going to be about recognizing that your voice, your ideas, your daily interactions matter. So the small, consistent choices that you make, to stay curious, to stay connected, to stay emotionally intelligent and present are going to create long-term opportunities for you that are ultimately going to reshape your personal and even your professional landscape. So if you show up and stay open-minded, it can be a very powerful and fulfilling year of growth with Jupiter in your third. Now, I know I spent a lot of time on that, but I do think it's a rather important transit. Moving on. So June 11th, there is a full moon in Sagittarius. This full moon is going to light up your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, and psychological transformation, right? This is the house of death and rebirth. So it could manifest as a financial issue involving loans, debts, inheritances, or joint assets finally comes to a head and requires resolution. Alternatively, it could manifest as a deep emotional or trust issue within a close relationship reaching a breaking point and prompting either a major healing breakthrough or a final breakdown, right? Like severing of the ties of the relationship. You may also experience a clearer understanding of your own emotional patterns around power, vulnerability, and security at this time. On the same day, Mercury in Cancer will sextile Venus in Taurus. So Mercury in your third house harmonizes with Venus in your first, making it easier to express yourself authentically and attract positive responses from others at this time. You might have a meaningful or emotionally honest conversation that ultimately strengthens a relationship at this time. Another possible manifestation is using this energy to successfully pitch an idea at work or market yourself or create content that blends, emotional resonance with practicality, especially as it relates to local or community settings. 4 days later, on June 15th, Mars in Leo squares Uranus in Taurus. So this is one to mark your calendar for. This is a volatile day, as Mars in your fourth house of home and family is going to clash with Uranus in your first house. So disruptions on the home front could spill over into your personal life, pushing you towards some form of impulsive reactionary behavior or reaction. You might experience sudden conflict with a family member, or suddenly change your living situation, or suddenly there's a change in your living situation, or there's an overwhelming urge to make some form or type of major personal change without fully thinking it through. So on this day, I would warn and caution that it's important to slow down before making any irreversible decision under this transit that could greatly impact the future. On the same day, Jupiter in Cancer is going to square Saturn in Aries. So this is a square between your third house and your 12th house, creating a tension between your desire to expand your daily life, all these things we just spoke about with Jupiter entering Cancer, and that's going to square your 12th house of subconscious fears or limitations or, undoing ways that you get in your own way. It could manifest as being excited about a new learning opportunity or project within your local community or marketing or communication initiative, but internal doubts or hidden emotional patterns could slow your momentum. It could just be dealing with imposter syndrome when stepping into a more visible role, and needing to be more strategic about how much information you share with others. 2 days later, on June 17th, Mars enters Virgo. So now Mars is moving into your fifth house of children, creativity, romance, personal passions. This energizes your desire to create, to compete, and express yourself. But it does so with a very Virgoan focus on precision and improvement. You might dive into a creative project that requires a steady effort and fine-tuning rather than a spontaneous burst of inspiration, right, Virgo? Another manifestation could be approaching dating or romance with a more analytical mindset or analytical or discerning eye, and setting a higher standard for what you really want and need from a romantic partner. On the next day, Jupiter in Cancer squares Neptune in Aries. So this is a confusing square between your third and 12th house, and it warns against overly hopeful or wishful thinking in your communications, contracts, or exchanges of information. It's a time where you could idealize an opportunity in your local environment or a short trip or a new learning experience, only to realize the reality doesn't really match your hopes. This is Neptune. Another real-world outcome could involve misunderstandings with a sibling, a neighbor, or a close contact in your local community where the intentions are either exaggerated or misread. 2 days later, on June 20th, the Sun enters Cancer. So the Sun moving into Cancer amplifies the importance of communication, learning, and connection within your life. You might spend more time networking, working on writing or speaking projects, or simply staying more mentally engaged within your environment. Another possible manifestation is feeling more emotional about conversations or needing to be mindful about how sensitive you are to other people's words or even tone. 2 days later, the Sun in Cancer is going to square Saturn in Aries. So this square is going to challenge you to stay disciplined about how you communicate and how you manage your mindset, your thinking. Emotional overwhelm could lead to self-sabotaging thoughts at this time if you're not careful. Real life manifestations of this could include second guessing yourself when trying to promote your ideas or hesitating to take the needed steps towards building your skills because of some underlying fears or doubts that you have. Now, the next day, the Sun in Cancer is going to square Neptune in Aries. So again, another confusing moment as your external communications, your third house, clashes with your internal uncertainties, your 12th house. So it's a time where you could feel mentally foggy. You could feel misunderstood or unsure whether you're seeing a situation or situations clearly. A practical example could be receiving vague or conflicting instructions at work or having trouble understanding someone else's intentions, which would lead to some form of missteps unless you're, really on top of it and double checking everything. On the next day, June 24th, the Sun in Cancer is going to conjunct Jupiter. So finally, a more supportive and expansive day. The Sun is going to meet Jupiter in your third house. It's going to be all about boosting optimism, learning, and your communication. So things are getting better. You could have a breakthrough conversation at this point, or begin a rewarding short-term project, or just experience sudden clarity around what your next steps need to be in this area. Alternatively, this could bring an opportunity for a quick trip or enrolling in a new course that you find interesting, or a chance meeting that could significantly expand your perspective. On June 25th, there's a new moon in Cancer. So this new moon is in your third house, and this is going to offer a fresh start around communication, learning, travel, and your day-to-day environment, everything we've been talking about. So you might launch a new writing project, sign up for a new skills course, or make an important decision about how you want to interact within your local environment moving forward. One way that this could manifest could be, it could involve starting a more intentional daily routine that just supports your mental and emotional balance and health in a better way. On June 26th, Mercury in Cancer is going to sextile Uranus and Taurus. So quick insights and intuitive flashes are likely today. You might solve a lingering problem through a sudden new idea, especially related to learning or communication or just everyday logistics. Another possible outcome is receiving surprising but helpful news from a sibling, neighbor, or local source that helps you make a smart, practical decision in some way. On the same day, Mercury enters Leo. So Mercury is now moving into your fourth house, turning the mental focus towards home, family, and your private matters. So you might spend the next few weeks planning moves, home improvements, or having deep conversations with family members. Alternatively, you could feel more focused on creating a home environment that supports your creativity and emotional self-expression. Next, Mercury in Leo is going to trine Saturn in Aries on June 27th. So this is, good for planning or solid decision making. All those things are possible today, I think, particularly regarding themes of home, family, or emotional security. You might finalize agreements around property or resolve a family issue in a way that you feel is responsible, or put real structures in place to support your long-term stability. It's a good day for making commitments based on realism and maturity rather than pure emotion. The very next day, Mercury in Leo is going to also trine Neptune in Aries. So this is a time where creative ideas or creative thoughts around your home life or emotional world could start to manifest, but there is going to be a need to balance inspiration, Neptune, with realism. So you might come up with a very imaginative plan for relocating or redecorating or maybe even reconnecting with family. Another possibility could be simply feeling more in touch with your emotional needs at this time and finding ways to articulate them. But again, there's going to be a real need to balance all of that with a true sense of realism. The very next day, June 29th, Mercury in Leo is going to oppose Pluto in Aquarius. So so much communication for you guys this month. So this could be, a really intense conversation around career and family surfacing, forcing you to address hidden power struggles or make a firm decision about your path. It's a time where you may feel pushed to defend your choices or assert greater control over your private life. It's a good day for getting to the bottom of a complex issue, but be careful because caution is needed to avoid unnecessary conflict or ultimatums or power control dynamics. So, final thoughts for Taurus risings. June is a month that requires balancing your personal self-worth with the evolving needs of your public and private life. Venus is going to be strong in your sign, and there's going to be a lot of activity in your communication sector. So clear, honest, and steady dialogue is going to be critical to your success this month. Be willing to adjust old patterns or old ways of thinking or old ways of handling your daily tasks. And know that emotional reactions are going to be stronger this month, but staying focused and organized and mindful of the timing of things are going to help you make real progress in your life without getting caught up in all the unnecessary drama that could potentially come with it due to all of these, emotions running high. So I would really focus on making strong personal boundaries this month, but staying flexible as well, and building a flexible but structured approach to the change that needs to happen to help you really maximize all of these growth opportunities that are becoming available to you at this time. So I hope that was helpful. Good luck. And drop a comment and let us know how it goes. All right. Well, thanks for sticking with me through this video and tuning in today. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. If you're interested in a private reading, I offer birth chart, career, relationship, as well as general readings. All the details for the booking are in the description box below. Thanks again for being here. Have an amazing June, and I'll see you in the next video.